Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Issei. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei was the betrayed dragon? Part 1. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Well, this is not something that I wanted to do in my life. Hell, this is not even a life that I wanted to live. And what am I doing, you may ask? Well, right now I'm hiding on a tree and spying some guys that have some useful information about the magical book that I need to find. The best part is that these guys are warriors from an enemy faction. And this tree is the only thing that stands between me and my enemies. Oh, and it's raining. So as you can see, I'm in deep shit. But it's worth it, I hope. And when I was doing my monologue, I saw that one guy was giving some kinda map to the other guy. Bingo, I thought. At the moment I saw the map, I took out my sword from my back and jumped off the tree. I have landed on the head of the first warrior, killing him instantly. Then, before the second warrior could react, I decapitated him. Not wanting to waste my time, I took the map from a dead soldier. And at this moment, the rest of the enemy group saw me. So right now, here I am, surrounded by people that want my head. I don't have time to play with children, I said that to the whole group. I started to shoot fireballs from my left hand. Most of them died instantly, only one guy survived. Identify yourself, he shouted at me. I'm afraid that this is not something that you should do right now. Do you see that mountain? I would recommend you to run away to that mountain and never turn back. Thank gods that he listened. One less kill this time. After my mission was over, I've returned to one of my hideouts. It was placed inside a cave, so it was one of the safest places in the area, and with that fact, I could be less tense. I took out my dark green coat and I look up in the mirror. In the reflection, I saw my face. The first thing that took my interest was my brown hair. My messy, shoulder-length hair. Next was my brown eyes. Formerly, full of life and hope, now cold and sometimes empty. Last part, my red tattoos in the shape of saber-tooth that was placed between my eyes and nose. Oh my, I didn't introduce myself well, these days I go by Verfix. But you may once know me as Issei Hyoudou. Unfortunately, I'm no longer that man. Not after what happened to me. No, what after they did to me. I took off my shirt to see my burn scar that was placed in the center of my chest. That scar was the last thing that reminds me of the person that I used to be. And the lesson that I was taught: do not trust everyone. Trust is something that you must deserve for it. Here, on Centauri, I have many titles, but only one describes my whole story. I am the betrayed dragon. I woke up after another shitty night. You may ask why it was shitty. Well, that's because I had a very bad dream, or should I say memory. Yes, from time to time I dream about my past life. And I always wake up all covered in cold sweat and pain. Sometimes that I can feel that pain on the chest and sometimes just inside. I wonder why I even dream about it. Why is my subconsciousness thinking about my past life on Earth? Maybe I'm sentimental. The question is about what I'm sentimental. About the life that was nothing more than a lie. Or about happiness that I had when my eyes were closed to all the truth. Well, that's all about the good mood this day. I stood up from my bed with only two things inside my head: breakfast and bath. But here we have a problem. I'm inside a cave and the only thing outside is jungle and waterfall. I freaking love jungle. So plan for this day is simple. After a small hunt for breakfast and a very cold bath down the waterfall, I must reach the border between territories of both factions. And I need to do that very fast because I've started to think that someone is following me. After that, I will probably go to the nearest city and find some good bed. And steak. I want a big steak. But breakfast first. I went out of the cave to start my hunt. But here we have the first nice surprise for this day. I and a black cat looked at me and spoke to me. The best part is that near the cat was fresh meat. Shadow, what I would do without you? I asked her. Nothing. You would do nothing, she answered me with a little sarcastic tone. Shadow is kin to my familiar. She is a black cat with white belly and green eyes. Wait, cat. Why the hell are cats here? Didn't you said that you were in a different world? Well, truth to be told, Shadow is a Centaurian cat. That race is well kin to like very wild cats. They don't like other species, they are very territorial and can be very aggressive. But once you get their trust, you will find a very good and loyal friend. I'm starting to think that I and Shadow are very alike. Trust is not given. But it's something that is worth trying for. After I ate my breakfast, I took off my clothes and started to bath near the waterfall. Water was cold, but thanks to my dragon body, I could easily handle low temperatures. Thanks to the water I saw the reflection of my body. On my legs, arms and back were placed tattoos. I very like them. They look cool and are awesome. If anyone thinks different, that's your problem. And once again I saw that damn scar on my chest. From time to time I wonder if those people that gave me this scar will even think about what will happen to me. Or what I'll become. But I guess not. Not with my shitty luck. But you know what? Fuck them all. Why I even think about them? It's been almost 13 years. Oh, that's right, you didn't know that. It's been 13 years since I've run away from Earth. And yes, I'm 30. And maybe one day I'll find the courage to tell my full story to more than a few people. Well, not this time. After my bath, I dressed up myself. It was quite simple clothes with camouflage colors. Thanks to that and some training, I could become invisible to most people. After a few seconds, Shadow was standing right next to me in her bigger form. Oh, it's time for a few interesting facts about Centaurian cats. The first one, mostly, they look like any normal Earth cats, but Centaurian cats can also become much bigger, like much bigger. I mean, they look like bigger versions of lions from Earth. The second fact is that they can fly in both forms. How can they do that without wings is still unknown to everyone. And the last one, they understand every language. And they can speak in every language. But understand them can only those that are proved themselves as someone worth. How was with me, you may ask? Well, I was on a mission when I heard someone's crying for help. When I looked up I saw a little kitten, Shadow, that was bleeding from her back. So I took care of her, healed her, and after that, she asked me if she can stay with me. Of course I said yes. And she became to me something far more than a familiar. After some time, spending with each other, we became very good friends. We can trust each other with everything, be it a problem, battle, hunt, or even sociable things like talking or laughing. When I was recalling all the good memories that I had with her, a small smile appeared on my lips. Come on, Shadow. We have work to do, I said to her when I've started walking ahead. I'm right next to you, Issei. Shadow, hurry, we are so close to the border. 9, I know, don't rush me. Right now, me and Shadow we're running through the jungle as fast as we could. Why? Well, let's just say that when we were moving to the border, we were noticed by a scouting party from enemy fraction. But instead of attacking us or stepping back to report us to HQ, they set against us a monster. Very hungry monsters. And tell me one thing, who the fuck do such a thing? I mean, it's stupid yet genius at the same time. What a complicated world. I turn around to see the monster. Right now I can see 3 of them. Okay, it's not that bad. This is less than 5 minutes of work. I can do this. As Shadow, take that third one. I can take care of these 2. Go. Okay, 9. At the moment when Shadow attacks the third monster, I shoot at the monster using fireball from my hand. But that was not good enough. The monster just dodges from my attack and start to once again charge at me. I've waited to see how this predator will attack me. When he was right next to me, I also charged at him with fire at my right hand. Thanks to my speed, my fire fist was first and struck the monster at its face. On my left hand, I concentrated little fireball that shoots at the monster with something similar with laser or zero. Thanks to that I killed the first monster within a second. But after 1 second, the second monster hit me with its full force. Thanks to that, I was thrown away at the nearest tree. Thanks to whatever that is out there high being that the tree stopped me. It really hurt me, but thanks to that I wasn't flying. But my killer was damn fast. I barely regained consciousness and that beast was once again near me. And I still lay on the ground. Damn, you're good one. So when it was near me, I kicked it with my 2 legs covered in fire. That attack looked like a flying space rocket. And that attack worked. The monster was confused. I didn't want to wait for any more attacks, so took out my sword and I've slashed him. But my slash was not good enough because my sword was stuck in monster's bio armor. The monster roared at me. As I heard that I wanted to laugh. I'll show you how you should roar. Ruire. And I roared at him with my fire breath. At that moment the monster had his mouth open, so the heat from my breath get troughed to his insides. I pushed the dead body of a monster out of me. I looked at him and I noticed that it was cooked from inside. I never knew that I can do that. Cause you never tried that, 9. So I guess you won. Shadow only growled at me. Remember, never doubt her skill. If you value your life. I looked at her when she asked, so, we're going or not? I only nodded and started to go ahead. The border was not so far away. Tomorrow we will probably see the first village behind the border. As we were going through the jungle I started to think about Centuria. Centuria was very beautiful jungle world with delicate tropic climate. Truth to be sad, there weren't many places that were not covered in jungle. And it makes this world quite lovely. And now time for some astronomy. Like Earth, Centuria orbits around a star. That star is named Proxima Centauri, so in a scale of the whole universe, that was pretty close to Earth. Only 4 years with light speed. Oh, and there was another star system nearby with 2 other stars, Alpha Centauri A and B. The best part is that the supernatural world from Earth has known this world as X. Yep, you heard that right. This is X world. Even Great Reed wasn't here. And even Great Reed couldn't possibly think that I'm right here. Did you hear that, Revism? I was the first one here, you stupid ass bitch. Revism, you were so interested in this world, yet you couldn't even come here. Well, after 13 years I can be sure that you have lost your war. Or you conquer whole your world. There are no other options. That also means that the DXD team succeeded to defeat you and your evil dragon's army, or they died like a bunch o' pussies. No, stop, Issei, don't even start with this shit. You know how will it ends. You have your own life and world to be worried about. Stop thinking about your past life. There is nothing to dwell about. It was already evening when we passed the border between fraction. We could see the lights of the village that was placed not far away. Well, we are technically there. So what do you think about our mission? Do we really have to do it? You should be more focused on making a family than go through hell every single day. Family, huh? Issei, I'm just worried about you. I look up at Shadow with little smile on my face. I know that and I appreciate that. Come on. We have to find some good place to sleep. With those words, we started to run towards the village. We have come to the village after midnight. Thanks to that, we were technically invisible. The village was quite simple, there was a few streets, some simple homes. If the border was not so close, it could be a really nice place to live with your family. If you're into it. I've looked up to see the stars. The air on Centauria is much cleaner than on Earth, so the stars are always fully visible. Of course, the stars weren't on the same Earth constellations. But if you are good with astronomy, then you will probably recognize some stars like Sirius, Rigel, Polar Star, and also the Sun. It was quite funny that the Sun of Earth was known here as Sol. And to think that first half of my life was placed on that little piece of dust that goes around that little star. Whole wars, religions, all of those empires for nothing more than a piece of space dust. So tell me, Rivism, if you could see what I can see every night of my life, would you still consider this as something worth of conquer it? You're thinking about Earth again? Shadow broke me out of my thoughts. Beach. It's just that every time, when I look up at the night sky, I see Sol. And as much as I hate it, it's calling me. I don't know why, but it's calling me. What's wrong with me, Shadow? The Centurion cat just looked at me and then jumped to my shoulder and said, you just have a very emotional heart, Issei. And I'm proud of you for that, 9. Thanks, Shadow. She just let out a soft purr and started to nuzzling my neck. After our little talk, we have found a place where we could sleep. The rent rooms were cheap if the information set next to doors were telling the truth. So I've opened the door and walked to the guy with very weird looking mustache and hairstyle. He also wore dark jacket. How can I help you? His voice sounded very sleepy. One room for one person. Name, Urfus. In that moment I saw that guy started to be nervous. Is something wrong? I've asked him. No, everything's fine. It's just that it's an honor to me. Okay, just stop here. And don't tell anyone that I'm here. He just approved and gave me keys to my room. After I arrived, I instantly fell down on the bed. The last thing I remembered before I went to sleep was feeling of Shadow lying on my chest. Cold. So much cold here. Everywhere there is only snow everywhere. My chest is bleeding, it hurts so much. That emptiness inside me. I only pretend that I have feelings for you. You're a trash for me. You're no longer our son. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. Braoog. Braoog. I instantly woke up from my nightmare. I was covered in cold sweat and I was shaking terribly. It took me a whole minute to calm myself. Another nightmare? Shadow asked me with a hint of worry. I've only noted. So what was this time, 9? Just a stupid mix of my memories. Same as always, nothing to worry about. When I stood up from my bed, I saw that my communicator was shining with blue light. I've took the device into my hand and clicked the button on it. Then I've placed it on the floor and waited. After a few seconds, from device, literally leap out a hologram. A hologram was showing a young-looking male with a green-colored armor. He was hairless, but instead he had some black tattoos on its head. His eyes were brown, but they were also giving a strange feeling like they were glowing. Typical for Centaurian spirits, I thought. Under his right eye was placed battle scar. And that scar only boosted his mature look. Most people could think about him thanks to his mature look that he is a cold-hearted warrior. But the truth was more simple. He was harsh but also very kind-hearted. But times are not the best for kind-hearted people, so sometimes you have to keep your warrior image, you know, war and that kind of stuff. Are you after another, not well-slept night? He asked me. Shut up, Anger, I'm not in the mood for your games. Anger is one of my best friends from a very long time. He actually was one of the first friends that I've made here. We've trained, laughed and fought together. Like a brothers. He is like a brother that I've never had. And I don't count Sierzich. That pervert Siskin bitch. Fuck you and your sister. And fuck all Gremories. I hope you'll go extant. But, back to the business. So you've got the map? Yup. But it's more like riddle than just a map. You mean, you thought it will be that easy? Come on. It's a key to ancestors' knowledge. There was a pause between our conversation. Then, he let out a sigh and said, just tell me when you will have something, and there's also Antor news. It just caught my interest. There was another time-space anomaly. When? There was a visible worry when I asked that. A few weeks ago. When you were behind the border. Let's meet in Eline. We'll talk about it. He only noted. After that, hologram just disappeared. I took the device from floor and I've started my daily routine. You know, shower, packing my stuff, breakfast. After my paycheck for room, me and Shadow went out of tavern and went to the center of the village. We've spent some time buying some food for our long travel. The villagers were pretty cheerful to us. Always happy, with never-ending smiles on their faces. Children running around, playing some games with each other. Everything seemed to be quite happy. So, Shadow, ready for another adventure. 9 She only meowed with approve. Next step Eline. This will be a hellish long road I thought when we left village behind us. When we re-walking through the jungle, my thoughts were going into a less jungle direction. First case people. On Centauria, there is only one dominant species, called spirits. But don't think that they are like a ghosts, no, they have normal physical bodies. When you take a look at Centaurian spirits, the first thing you'll notice are their eyes. Always glowing, sometimes it can be scary. The color of their eyes are absolutely not Earth-like. Have you ever seen somebody with orange, red or pink glowing eyes? I think not. The other thing is that they may look like a dark elves to you, thanks to their pointy ears and dark skin. The society of Centaurian spirits is highly advanced if you look from technological point of view, yet they don't lose their connection with nature. You can say that they are in balance with Mother Nature. The spirits have also good connection with magic, senjutsu, power of nature and aura. With their training they could easily conquer DXD worlds. Of course, this world, probably like many other worlds, have a conflict. And mysteries that can change the world. Or worlds. Let's talk about the conflict. Centaurian spirits are only one faction out of 2. The second faction is called Darksiders. They are, well, maybe not exactly are, but rather were, spirits that started to corrupt each other. Some of them were corrupted by dark ancient powers, other ones by mutations, experiments or tortures. The thing is that they are monsters. Bloodthirsty, highly intelligent killing monsters. The last case ancestors. The godlike race, or races. That appeared here thousands of years ago. They were highly advanced, and they probably are not even from Centauria. Yes, I'm talking about different worlds right now. As far as I know, the ancestors were using 3 different languages and were having war with each other. And I think that is the final evidence that proves to us that ancestors were actually 3 different races. When I think about power and skill levels between Centaurian spirits and warriors from DXD worlds, the only thing that comes to my mind is a picture showing to us a very spoiled child, DXD, that tries to impress very skilled warrior, Centauria. And let's not talk about difference between DXD and the ancestors, cause, whenever I start to think about it, the only thing that I can do is laugh like psycho. Oh, by the way, you may think if they have dark skin, that means that Centauria is warmer than Earth. Yes, indeed. The Centauria is a planet placed in tri-solar system. The main star Proxima Centauri is red dwarf star. That means that the star is smaller and colder than Earth's sun, but thanks to our place near the star, we are much closer to our star than Earth, we still have enough heat to live. Don't forget about Alpha Centauri twins A and B. These stars are the same type of stars like Earth's sun. And thanks to that our planet is warmer. There are days when only Proxima Centauri is on our day sky. Sometimes we can see 2 stars. And there are also days when we can see 3 stars, not common but still. We call the days full days. Even if Centauria don't have a moon, I still think that the sky here is more beautiful. Every star is shining with so amazing light that is visible even if you are in the city. Of course, with 3 stars in the system, the planet is mostly a jungle world. Well, there are colder places and oceans, but it's still tropical climate here. This makes this world very unique and beautiful. And even with all those dangers that are waiting for me, I really like this world. And I prefer Centauria than Earth, even with this endless war that is waged here I choose Centauria. A beautiful and unique world, indeed. The night sky on Centauria is magnificent, full of stars and constellations. There is only one thing that is still in the sky, giving a little daylight for night. Thanks to that, the sky is having a magical violet color. On the other side, when you look at the ground, you can see a magical looking like jungle. Within day, the tropical forest could be like any other jungle, just with bigger and fatter trees. But when the sun, or suns, goes down, the jungle transform itself into magical place with magnificent lights traveling around trees. Of course every jungle be it on Earth or Centauria is not the safest place that you can imagine. There are always hungry animals with only one thing to live hunt for a prey. Day or night, only kinds of animals changes. But of course not only spirits are the prey for these animals. Because as you may know they mostly eat each other. With only one exception. Centaurian cats. Proud and intelligent. The perfect assassins within the jungle world. Feared by everyone. Yet, when you look at them, you can't deny their beauty. Soft fur, big cat eyes and that graceful walk. Simply brilliant creatures. Right now, one Centaurian cat is running away from something that is chasing it. With big bloody wound on its back and other painful scratch, this certain cat is fighting for its life. Why? Didn't I just said that they are the perfect assassins? Yes, indeed they are. And that is why many warriors mostly form Darksiders faction, want to kill at least one of those cats. For fame and glory. This is also the reason why our cat is running. This cat knew that this is over. So it stopped and with its last strength roared to the skies. Near the place where our cat was caught, the lonely wanderer was sitting near a campfire. The wanderer was wearing green coat with hood, grey pants and black boots. This person could be described as a handsome boy in his early 20s with brown Iroquois haircut and brown eyes with cat-like pupils. His face was showing to us that this person was in deep thoughts. Then he heard a roar. "Ah fuck?" he asked himself. But after another roar he knew that something was not alright. And it was very close to him. He decided to jump into action. Right now he's running and jumping from tree to tree as fast as he can. If you could watch him, you would probably see nothing more than a blur appearing and disappearing between trees. After a few seconds he was near the source of sound. He looked down and saw one centaurian cat bleeding from its back. What caught his attention was the fact that even with its wounds, this cat was still fighting. "You have nowhere to run, kitty." That voice made him a little worry. "Dark hunters? Shit, this is not good, that can only means trouble." He didn't want to waste more time, so he jumped out of tree and landed near our cat with sword in his hands. That put 3 dark hunters in a little consternation. "Who are you? Why are you interrupting our little fun?" One of hunters asked our wanderer pointing his axe at him. But mysterious guest didn't bother to answer. He looked at cat with worried face. "He's losing too much blood. I need to work fast." "Hey. Are you deaf or some? This cat is off limits. Turn around and return to your territories." Of course, hunters didn't like his answer. One of them rushed at him with scream, "You piece of shit, who are you to tell us what to do?" But that resolved he attack our wanderer, using his big axe and with head as a target. But wanderer was faster. Nanoseconds before axe could touch skin on his head, he ducked and pushed his sword, impaling heart of the first hunter. In a moment, when 2 other hunters saw that, they went into berserk. Killing intent was fully feelable and was aimed into wanderer. But he never gave them a chance to even scratch him. He kicked the second one in the stomach and after that, he attacked the last one using his sword. But the last hunter didn't do the same mistake. He spared attack from a wanderer using his own sword. A few fast strikes was going from both of warriors. The sound of clashing metal was heard from a long distance. The second hunter finally regained his consciousness. Seeing his fellow hunter fighting with superior to him opponent, he took out his bow, targeted into his enemy and shoot an arrow. But our wanderer was not an ordinary warrior. He sensed that something was shot at him. So, milliseconds before arrow could hit his head, wanderer disappear with a fast blur and appear next to an archer. Our warrior swing his sword with high speed, decapitating his opponent. Not wanting to waste any time, he turned around only to see that his opponent had an arrow in his head. Well, that was fast. Wait, where's the cat? Wanderer was slowly moving on, following blood prints. After a minute he found a wounded cat. This cat was in big form and was growling at our wanderer. "Hey, easy there, I don't want to hurt you, I'll help you." Wanderer tried to calm our cat, but the cat started to growl at him even more. Our warrior took off his hood and showed his face. This centaurian cat looked at him with curiosity. Our wanderer had small friendly smile, brown eyes with cat-like pupils, and also brown Iroquois haircut. He probably was in his early 20s. But it were eyes that caught attention of our cat. His eyes were filled with pain and sorrow. It was like he have seen and felt something awfully terrible. But he was hiding it well. "Could you transform into your smaller form? It will be easier for me to heal your wounds." The cat only gave a nod and after a little puff of smoke, it showed its smaller form. It looks like a typical Earth-size cat. Seeing this, wanderer took out of his bag bottle with some weird-looking balm inside, a big leaf and some bandages. After cleaning wound with leaf, applied the balm and bandaged of wound, the healing part was done. Our cat was looking into our wanderer with curiosity and suspiciousness. He was different from most spirits that our cat met. He didn't have any features that most spirits had. No pointing ears, glowing eyes or darker skin. Like he literally was from another world. Our cat knew that her savior wasn't from the Darksiders. He fought with them and probably killed them without hesitation. And the most important thing, he protected her without any second thoughts. "Who are you, Nyan?" she asked with female voice that sounded like a voice of 20 or 30 years old woman. Wanderer just looked at her with a shock. "Did you just said something in my head?" "Of course, Nyan. Every cat can do that. If we want someone to understand us, then he will hear us and understand us, Nyan." That was something that our warrior didn't know at all. "Sorry mate, I just never knew that. Don't call me that, I'm a woman." "Sorry, I didn't want it to be mean to you." They'd sit looking at each other for a half of a minute before wanderer took out from his backpack some food and gave some to his new companion. "What is your name, Nyan?" "Urfus." "You're lying, Nyan." Why do you think that? She just stared at him straight into his eyes and said, you want to be recognized as Verfus. But it's not your name, it's not your promise. That answer shocked Verfus. But even with some warning alerts ringing in his head, he dwelled more. What do you mean with my promise? Every name is a promise. Your promise to the world, Nyan. She stopped to take a breath as she continued. I can see your first promise and I see why you don't want to keep your promise and why you have made a new one. It's very sad, Nyan. And then happened something unusual. From Verfus' eyes, tears could be visible. Tears that fell down on his cheeks. After that, Verfus started to sobbing. He didn't know why, but he couldn't control his feelings. What did you do to me? He screamed in tears. Nothing. I've just reminded to you your promise. Then she jumped at him and with her head, she started to clean his cheeks from his tears. So please, don't try to break it. Keep it for people who will be worth of that promise. Verfus couldn't stop his emotions to flow, no, more like he didn't want to cage them anymore. He hugged her carefully, not wanting to make her feel more pain from her wounds and said, thank you. None other words were spoken till next day. Issei's pav. So, what do you want to know about me? I, Verfus, asked my new companion. She was quite intelligent and had vast knowledge about Centauria. Well, first you can say, why are you so different from other spirits? Well, that is because I'm not a spirit. She just looked at me with curiosity in her eyes. But what have surprised me was the fact that in her eyes, I couldn't see even a hint of disbelief. What do you mean by that, Nyan? Well, I've shoved to her my 4 dragon wings. I'm a fire-type dragon. And that explains why are you so warm, Nyan. I was confused to some point. She just took it too well. But dragons weren't here for a long time, Nyan. Does that mean that you are from another world, Nyan? I've just looked at her with a hint of fear in my eyes. As she looked at me, she asked, something's wrong, Nyan. You're the most terrifying cat that I've ever seen in my life. Well, I'll take that as a compliment, Nyan. I only made a nod to say yes. So, what is a dragon from another world doing on Centauria? I don't know. I've answered to her. I think that I just wanted to run away and start everything anew. And that is truth. I'm still running away from my painful past. It just happened that I've landed here. And that scar on your chest, Nyan. And once again, shock. How did she even notice my scar? That's the only thing that I have from my world. I'm sorry, Nyan. Don't worry, I'm fine. As days go by, we've talked to each other even more. I actually very liked our talks. And we were talking about everything. There was one day when we were talking about familiar system from my world. So, what is with this familiar thing, Nyan? Well, familiars are mostly animal-like creatures who are bounded to their masters and are doing what their masters tells them. That's very basic explanation. Well, I've only had my own familiar for less than a month, so I don't know much about it. What can you say about your familiar, Nyan? Well, it was a magical ship called Hyoudou. But I don't know what happened to him. As days goes by, we were still traveling together, talking and laughing even more. It was quite strange how she could read me so easily. She even noticed that I don't like being around other people. But there was one day that I have feared the most. One day, when I've changed her bandages, I noticed that her wounds were fully healed. Well, I've started I think that you are fully healed. But why are you sad, Nyan? She asked, while nuzzling my arm. Because you know you can go. She noticed sadness in my voice. I really didn't want her to go. I started to like her very much. You remember our talk about familiars, Nyan? Yes, what's about it? Well, I really like you, Verfus, and I think that I could be someone like a familiar to you. Of course if you'd like to, Nyan. She left me speechless. I was looking at her with wide open eyes. But I was happy. Very, very happy inside. I'd be very happy. Then come on, and other adventures are waiting for us. She said in rather happy tone. For what are you waiting, Issei? I've interrupted her. Nyan. This is my first promise. My name is Issei. She only looked at me and smiled to me in her cat way. Then come on, Issei, Nyan. From that moment, we became the best partners that Centauria ever had. There are times when you have to fight with everything you have. When you fight for your own survive. Oh, those feelings when you fight in that kind of fight. That adrenaline flowing through your veins. The moment when you transforming yourself into monster for your own survive. And that was something what I was doing when I landed on Centauria. I didn't know anything about world at this time. I was still new and didn't know a damn thing about what was actually going on. After a few months someone told me that I've landed on the Darksiders side of planet. Only in first month I was running for my life, like an animal that was enslaved and escaped. Ironically, I really was enslaved animal before I came here. Running, jumping from tree to tree and hiding in some dirty holes on the ground. Day by day, killing monsters or weird-looking soldiers. That was really bad time for me. And today was another day with fighting for survive. I was chased by a really curious monster that looked like a pterodactyl, but without wings. It wouldn't be a problem if this monster was exactly like a pterodactyl from Earth. Running away from it couldn't be that hard then. Just hide between trees and wait. But of course it wasn't this case. This monster was just too good at being a predator in this damn jungle. So with last strengths in my legs I ran towards the horizon when I saw him. Yes. That's my chance. He will not chase me when I'll fly to the sky. I thought. As fast as I saw the end of the jungle I've suddenly could not feel ground under my feet and I've started to fall down. I look around and saw that next to me was a waterfall. I've waited a few moments falling with more and more speed. And after a few seconds I spread out my 4 dragon wings and with speed that I've gained, I flew near the river that was placed under waterfall. This feeling that I've felt in my whole body when I was flying, the feeling of freedom. When you flying like that, you can feel that there are no borders, no chains, no limits. In that moment, I've felt more alive than ever. Anew, one of the dragon kings from my world, said that this is normal feeling for all dragons when they flying with their wings. By the way, I'm slightly curious about what Anew thinks about me. He probably thinks that I'm disgrace for all dragon kind. Well, yeah, he's probably having the same opinion as whole DXD world, that I'm worthless and I'm a trash and blah blah blah. You know what? Fuck this, I've got a new resolve, new world, new me. I've literally destroyed everything that I had from my past, even my own name. Ruer. I've turned around, only to see that my predator has gained wings and started to fly towards me. Oh, you got to be kidding me. I've added more speed and I flew as fast as I could through canyon. But the monster did the same. Oh, fuck off you bitch. I shouted at him as it was flying to me faster and faster. Okay, you want me? Then come and get me. Using all strength in my dragon wings, I've started to fly higher and higher, practically aiming the heaven. I was above clouds, reaching the highest levels of sky, when I felt that temperature was lower than before. That means that I'm pretty high. I've hided my wings and let gravity pull me down, towards ground. I've noticed that predator was no longer aiming me. I saw that he was turning around to his own territories. I've made a smirk because the great plan came to my head. I've changed my position to gain more speed. Flying faster and still speeding in velocity, I flew towards monster like a missile. I've also covered my hands with dragon fire and clenching them into fists. Using velocity, I've hit monster with both of my fists and fire. That fire punch immediately destroyed the skull of monster. I heard the sound of crushing bones. And who's the bitch? Well, I was the bitch, cause the ground was closer than I thought. Using my last strength, I've jumped off and once again spread my wings. It was too late. Ground was definitely too close. I didn't make it. I've hit the ground. Yet I was not dead. But that was something I was not aware for some time. Days on Centauria were always beautiful. Full of colors and smiled people. I remember that day for another reason. That day, I've took some kids from orphanage to the forest. Children always like to play there. Why I took them from orphanage, you may ask. Well, that is because I'm taking care for all kids that has lost their parents. I'm kind of mother-like person for them. I love every single one of them. That was another day when I and children were having a good time. Some of them were playing tags, others were playing hide and seek. I was quite happy seeing their cheerful faces. I wanted to give to these kids as much love and happiness as I could. It always makes my heart warm. But that day, we've heard a mighty roar of a monster. Of course, children were terrified. In that moment I focused my powers on creating a powerful shield to protect everyone near me. What surprised me was a fact that monster we just heard was falling from the sky, practically dead. Next to the monster I saw a teenager that tried to run from a falling monster, but he failed and hit the ground. Amadi, who is that person that fell from the sky? One of the kids asked, slightly terrified. I don't know. But we need to check it. So we had moved to the place where the teenager fell down. We were very shocked when we saw what was in the crater. There was a youngster lying down on the ground, bleeding from several wounds. And there was something that really surprised me. That boy had 4 scaled wings that looked like a dragon wings. He also didn't have any Centaurian-like features, like pointy ears or dark skin. There was something that made me shiver from fear. This boy has big burn scar on chest. What happened to you? Why someone so young needed to survive something so terrifying like this? I thought as I looked at him. What will you do to him, Amadi? One girl asked me, looking at me with worried face. I went down and kneeled next to boy. I've concentrated my powers and started to heal him. I didn't have time, so I've only make sure that he would survive. After that I've once again concentrated my powers and teleport me, kids and teenager, back to orphanage. I also think that Issei should be out of this peerage. You can die on the street, this is how much we care about you. We will kill you if you ever come here again. You worthless piece of shit. I woke up from another nightmare. I wanted to move my body, but I couldn't. Where I am? I thought, when I've noticed that I'm in a different place, in a room that I didn't recognize. Then it hit me. Before I've lost my consciousness, I remember hitting the ground with great force. As I've checked my body, I've noticed that some of my wounds were healed. Once again I've tried to move my limbs, but every inch of my muscle was only giving me pain. Oh, come on, move. I nearly screamed from pain and desperation. If I was you, I'd probably not try to move. Someone said to me with worried tone. I've turned to the direction of the voice. What I saw was something beyond my comprehend. It was a woman in her early 30s. She had long brown hair and eyes that were looking like a clear blue sky on Earth. If she was born on Earth, most people would thought that she is a goddess. Her delicate face, mother-like figure, big breasts. But something in her posture or aura makes me feel something unusual, like feeling like I'm looking at my mother. That made my heart cracked. It was still fresh memory to me when my own parents threw me away from their life. I've clenched my fists. Pain, anger, sorrow, it was all returning to me with full force. Who are you? I asked with a little anger and sadness in my voice. I'm Amadi. But most children here are calling me mother. Her voice was filled with kindness and happiness. Here? I took a look at surroundings. I was in a small room and I was lying in a very soft and comfortable bed. I was quite shocked, cause I didn't know how I could even be here in the first place. I did move you from the place where you had fallen, she said, probably predicting my thoughts. What do you want from me? I asked, not hiding my suspicious and rising anger. She only looked at me with pity and sadness. I felt her look upon me. It was like she was looking through me, into my very soul. When I looked back at her, when I did that, I felt like a child looking for my mother, and her, she looked like she was my mother. I've noticed that some of my wounds started to close themselves. I was terrified because she did even more than that. She touched my soul, I felt that. I've jumped off the bed like a scarred cat. I felt my heart beating like a crazy. I thought that I would have a heart attack. What did you do this to me? Answer me. I was screaming at her. For me it was like a deja vu. Once again someone wanted to help me, without upper motives. And after that person gained my trust, he will betray me and mock me, like always. But this time was different. It was something that nobody has ever done to me. She just sat next to me and gave me a hug. It was comforting. There was no upper motive, she was there for me, saying, it will be okay. At that moment I really felt like a child. I really felt pity for you. No one's supposed to face that betray. But don't worry. You have a new chance to live, so please move on and start everything anew. Her words were giving me strength. Yet, I couldn't say a word. The only thing that I could do was simply crying to her shoulder. Yes. Let it out. She said to me. After that I fell asleep at her shoulders. She only smiled at me and said, good night. Days went very fast within the orphanage. I've started to help Amadi with some basics works, like cooking or cleaning up. Of course I have also helping with kids. I have never thought that I'll become a baby sister, but after a week I've started to understand why Amadi likes to work with kids. After a week children started to open up towards my person. They wanted to play with me. We had fun when we playing a lot of games like a tags or hide and seek. Boys from orphanage were more confident towards me than girls. They were asking about many things, like why I'm not looking like most of Centaurian spirits. Yes, I don't have a darker skin and pointing ears, or what kind of powers do I have. Of course I've showed to them my dragon fire. Boys were amazed with my ability to summon fire. Girls were more afraid at first, but after some time, they have also started to be more open towards me. Nah, you have very pretty eyes, you know. And your hair is also nice. Some girls were saying some compliments to me while playing with my brown hair. After some incident, my hair wasn't that long as was before my arrival here. Well, not that I care. After I've spent here more time, I've noticed that kids from orphanage were calling to Amadi mother. That made me wonder why, or that was what I wanted to think, but deep down I felt jealousy about that fact. But I didn't let anybody to know that. After a few another weeks I also noticed that in orphanage were also living older kids, but they were at training camp at this time, so I was the only one within my age. There was something else that I've noticed. One day some kids started to call me Big Brother, or Ani-chan if you prefer. I didn't know that to say I was surprised, no, even shocked. Nobody has ever called me that beside that Grimmery boy, but you know it was all I, so I don't count him. That feeling was heartwarming. Especially when one girl after I helped her with finding her teddy bear gave me a hug, saying, thank you. I was paralyzed. I felt tears on my cheek. First, I couldn't even move my body. After a second, I felt my arms reacting and wrapping itself around the girl. I'd lie to myself if I said that I don't like being called Big Brother. It just felt very good seeing their happy faces. Maybe this is why Amadi likes this work so much. But the day of my first trail has come. It was beautiful morning. Sun shining happily and delicate wind goes through forest, giving nice bland atmosphere. That was something what you would probably call calm before storm. When everything started I was sitting on a grass field watching children. I felt something terribly dark and malicious. Kids, come on here, we have to go back home. I yelled while running towards them. I also noticed that Amadi catch up with me and asked with worry, "You have also felt that, right?" "Yes. I don't know what it is, but it's very terrifying." We gathered all children in a group. Amadi casted out a powerful barrier to keep kids safe from any attacks. "Ani-chan, Amadi, Nala is not here. We had lost her," said one boy, horrified with situation. I wanted to ask where this girl's was seen last time when I heard someone screaming. I turned my head, trying to locate the source of scream. I sensed presence of this girl in a forest. She was pretty scared. But the worst was a fact that near here I sensed some malicious things. "Amadi, take kids out there. I'll find Nali," I said to Amadi as I've started to run towards forest. "Wait. It's dangerous," she said to me, worried. But it was too late to stop me. As I have ran, I heard some childish screams. After a few seconds I noticed Nali. She was crying and begging for help. Next to her I saw a whole horde starting to come closer and closer to her. Using all my strength and my legs I appeared next to girl with a fast blur and spread my 4 dragon wings. Second later I gave the girl protective hug with my arms and wings. Using my little control over my flames, I've created a protective cocoon of fire, cloaking both of us inside. "Ani-chan," she said to me while hugging me tighter. "I'm scared. I know. But don't worry. I'll protect you." As I said that, my flames erupted, scaring and burning alive some monsters. "Nali, jump on my back. It's gonna be faster that way this way." She only made a nod and as I said. She was hugging me very tight, holding my neck with her arms and my stomach with her legs. I started to run towards the cliff as fast as I could. The monsters practically recovered themselves from a shock and started to chasing us. But I had a plan. All I needed to do was run towards that damn cliff. "Ani-chan, there is a cliff over there. We must find another way," Nali said to me with a little terrified tone. "Trust me, Nali, just trust me." After a few seconds we were near the end of cliff. Then I decided to jump down. Ani-chan. We were falling down for a few moments. But practically, milliseconds later I've spread my dragon wings out and still flying towards ground, I've gained high speed and seconds before I could hit the ground, I changed direction using my wings and started to fly up the sky. I also noticed that Nali has stopped screaming and kinda calmed herself down. "Ani-chan, how is that possible that we are flying?" she asked in awe. "Can't you see my wings, Nali?" I gave her an answer with friendly smile. After a moment I felt that she hugged me tighter. But I could easily that it was not because of fear. No, it was something totally opposite to fear. "You know, Ani-chan, you have very pretty wings. They are like dragon's wings from those fairy tales," she said with dreamy voice. I think that she's little sleepy. What if I told that I am a dragon? Would you bellow me? "Yes, Ani-chan, I would. But you are a very nice dragon. You know, I thought that dragons are scary, yet you are very nice and protective." Her words made my heart soft. I couldn't help but smile to her. After a few moments we were near orphanage. I've landed on the ground behind the group of kids. They've all looked at me with awe. I wondered why, but after a second I reminded to myself that my wings were at their full glory. I hid them back and put down Nali from my back, saying, "Nali, you are safe now. Go to Amadi. She would probably give you some sweets." But she didn't listen to me, she was too bothered about worrying about me. "Are you alright, Ani-chan? Are you hurt?" "Maybe." "Nali, I'm alright." I've interrupted her. "Don't worry, I'm okay, everything is fine." She once again hugged me and started crying. I couldn't do more that returning hug. We've stayed like this for a whole minute, until I felt something malicious. And I know it was deadly. Very, very deadly. In less than a second I've pushed her away from me, practically nanoseconds before I felt massive pain coming from many parts of my body. And what caused it? Many sharp teeth and claws, biting, trying to tear me apart and dragging me to the forest. "Ani-chan." I've heard Nali scream. But it was too late for me. I only could watch how wolf-like beasts were practically eating me alive. I didn't have any strength to even move. I could only cry from pain. So this is how I'm gonna end my life. By being ate alive. What a joke, I thought. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. I don't want to die. Why have I even started new life if I'll die here? Why? 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 I screamed inside my head, through my thoughts. My blood was leaking from my wounds. My eyes started to closing itself. I couldn't stop it. I was too weak, I've faded into darkness. "Do you really wish to die here, Ice-kun?" That voice, I couldn't remember whose voice that was, but it was clearly belonging to a woman. I didn't know why, but I was horrified hearing it. "Oh, Ice-kun, don't be so afraid. I can't let you die here. It will be a very big problem for me if you die here, so I must prevent it. So please, let me take over your body and I'll save you." Even if I was clearly terrified, I really wanted to live. I wanted to survive. So I said only one word, "Yes." "Don't worry, Issei, I'll show you what we really can do with fire." I've opened my eyes, only to notice that I cannot control my own body. My limbs, even eyes, were moving without my will. No, it was more like I was only a spectator in my own body. My body stood up, with red fire covering my fists. Everywhere. The beast that took over my body roared and threw out a very big and intensive fire breath that burned down some of the monsters. From when I have that much power. My possessed body jumped over 5 meters up the ground. When it was supposed to fall, it punched one of the monsters on its head, crushing it and creating powerful heat wave. But it was not over. The rest of the monsters once again started to attack me. But on my possessed body I felt smile creating itself on my lips. A ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha very insane laugh came out of my throat as I started to attack monsters. The fire covering my hands and legs, I started to beat everything that was moving. My body moved like a crazy, but I needed to admit that tactic was working well. Monsters had changed forms of attacks, and they've jumped on me. Yet, I only made a smirk. I realized that my wings unleashed full power. It was frightening to me. Releasing my power killed all my opponents, but also destroyed or rather burned everything within 10 meters from me. The rest was still burning. Sleep well, Ice-kun. But remember Ice, you need to grow strong, cause otherwise. That boy said something to me, but it was too blurred to me, and consciousness started to fade away into embrace of darkness. I, Imadi, was searching for Issei. I was really afraid that something happened to that boy. In the moment when he was attacked by those monsters, I felt like my heart stopped beating in my chest. But after 1 minute, I sensed something that really made my heart stop. It was wave of heat so hot that I could imagine only an exploding star. And then, I suddenly heard a very loud roar. It was like a scream of a very powerful and deadly beast. But it didn't make my stop. I needed to save him, he needed help. Then, it suddenly stopped. The heat and powerful aura just disappeared. I prayed and had hope for Issei's safety. After a minute, I've arrived at place where I felt this sudden aura outburst. Everything around me was burned to the ground. And in the center of this burned area was Issei. As I came closer I saw that he was bleeding a lot from all of his wounds. Issei, can you hear me Issei? I was afraid that he would die. I didn't want to let that happen. This boy faced too much pain and suffering in his life, I wanted to give him some happiness. I used my powers to teleport both of us to orphanage. Children were already there. When they saw Issei they were all shocked. Especially Nali. She has tears in her eyes. Mama, will Ani-chan be okay? I don't know, Nali. But I'll do everything to save him. After that, I started to heal him. I can only hope that you'll survive. You have more things to live for than you think. I woke up. Yes, I've simply woke up and that was something unusual to me. No nightmares, no bad memories. Not even one dream I had. Simple sleep. I hadn't got one for a long time. I tried to move, but I found it hard and painful. As I look at my body, I couldn't find any wounds or injuries, so I had found this suspicious. Okay, it's weird, I thought as I started to remind myself what happened to me. So how did I survive? And suddenly, one particular memory hit me. Flashes of me, roaring like a dragon, summoning fire and using my power on at least ultimate class devil level. And that maniacal laugh that came out of my throat. What the fuck happened? As I was thinking about that fight, I looked down to see a little girl with long white hair. She was sleeping peacefully next to me, using my arm as her pillow. Nali, what are you doing here? I tried to move once again, but someone has stopped me saying, please, don't move. I barely ended healing you. So please, don't destroy my work. I look up to see Amadi, sitting on a chair next to my bed with worried look on her face. As I looked at her eyes I saw red marks from tears. Why have you been crying? I asked her with hint of suspiciousness. Isn't that obvious, Issei? I am worried about you. I could only see a sad look placed on her face. You was all covered in blood. Nali was in panic. Why did you save me? She looked at me with surprise, no, with shock. You want my power, don't you? This is why you have saved me in the first place, haven't you? She made a little comforting smile while she answered me. No. I saved you because you needed to be saved. I want to give a normal life. I didn't want to believe this, I couldn't believe this. For me it was like a very, very bad joke. Or endless deja vu. I know that you're afraid of being betrayed once again. I knew that since I first healed you. I could easily feel your fear, pain, anger and loneliness. But there was also something more, Ice. Strong will to live. So please, live your life and be happy. This is my wish for all of my children from orphanage. She left me speechless. I couldn't say anything. But before I could react, she came closer to me and kissed my forehead saying, go to sleep. You need to rest. I only made a nod, closed my eyes and went to sleep. A few days later I was playing some games with Nali. She was very happy that I was alright. And I couldn't help but think about her as my own little sister. After an hour I noticed that Amadi came back with rest of kids. I had something to tell her, but I needed few days to found enough of courage to do that. Amadi, can we talk? I asked her while being nervous. Of course, Issei. But, can we talk somewhere more private? She only made a note and she guided me to the kitchen. So, what do you want to talk about? I noticed that kids here are calling you mother, can I ask why? She only smiled in answer. I guess that everyone just likes me. I kept my head down. I was afraid, but I needed to clarify something. Say, do you really mean that about me being happy? She just gave me a mother-like hug and said, of course. I want all my children to be happy. I've opened my eyes very wide. Does she mean that I'm? Yes. She answered like if could read my mind. You are also my son. Son, that I'm very proud of. I was shaking in her embrace. I didn't know what to say or even think about it. After all, my heart was still broken from what my parents did to me. Amadi, could I asked her with cracked voice. Could I call you mother? Of course, Issei. You can always call me mother because from now on I am your mother. I didn't stop emotion from flowing out of me. I've returned hug and cried to her shoulder. But this time I cried from happiness. Initially, I was afraid that would never call out this magical word. But now I felt that some parts of my heart started to return to me. After a whole minute we ended our hug. Well, Amadi, no, my mother asked me happily. You know, we still need to do dinner for all kids here. Would like to help me with it, my son? Sure, mom. I couldn't be more happy at this time. Once again I felt like I was alive. End of the here. So that's it for today's video guys. Before you go, just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.